That's a really hard definition to find, but basically a green job is any activity that is conducive to a green economy. Mostly a job that is leaving fossil fuels behind and is turning us into a more efficient society and a society that is more dependent on clean and renewable energy. Also, green jobs are usually created in the sectors of the economy that employ the most Latinos. So that's why this issue is so crucial for our community. As you said before, with 13% unemployment among us Latinos, it is crucial that this kind of job-generating activities are in full force.
Jorge, because I keep hearing about them, and they're always talked about as waiting out there in the future, but I'm not sure exactly what they are.
Green jobs are very similar to the traditional jobs we have now. In fact, in many cases, it's a lot of the same skill sets, a lot of the same functions, but they've been reimagined, re-engineered to respect and to preserve the environment. The most traditional or classic cases are your manufacturing machinists making wind turbines, construction workers retrofitting and upgrading homes so that they're more energy efficient, even your landscapers and gardeners making sustainable landscape, and plumbers making water-saving, water-efficient toilets, sinks, things like that.
So if you were working in Arizona as a landscaper, and you moved to doing taking out the water pipes and taking out the grass and putting in more environmentally responsible planting, you've got a green job?
Absolutely. That's called xeriscaping. And it's something that's very popular in the American West, in the desert areas, but that's quickly gaining popularity throughout the nation.
And Hector, if you were a construction worker, if you are a construction worker, and now you're putting in panels in the same, you used to build buildings, now you're building buildings, but they're more energy efficient, you've got a green job?
Exactly. You're just upgrading your capacity to have a better environment, to have a better kind of economy. And we need to actually, and that's a great question, Ray, we need to bring it down to the worker level. I've been talking to a lot of workers when we travel around the nation about the new possibilities. We need to emphasize green jobs. Right now, it's not an exaggeration to say that as a community, our workers are confronting a serious attack. We have the highest level of death and injuries at work. We are 3% above the unemployment rate. We have the highest levels of wage theft. Hate crimes among the poorest Latinos have increased 40%. And now with all the anti-immigrant movement, with the direct attack to our community, we really need to find more and better ways to create jobs. When I think about green jobs, I think about opportunities, especially opportunities for blue-collar workers.
The federal government has gotten really involved. There are subsidies, there are tax breaks, there are incentives. How do those trickle down to workers who were exposed in some of the industries that got hit worse by the downturn? Construction, service industry, light manufacturing that's been offshoring for years. How does a federal program end up turning things around for an individual worker?
If I may, yesterday we had a roundtable discussion with the EPA Administrator, Lisa Jackson, and someone brought up that question exactly as you did right now. And she explained a number of programs that are already in place by the EPA. But someone else brought up another thing, for instance, Proposition 23 in California, that fortunately was defeated. Proposition 23 in California was trying to eliminate Law AB 32, which was approved by the California voters 4 years ago. That government initiative alone has created 500,000 jobs in California so far. It has attracted almost $10 billion in capital investment in green jobs. That's the kind of thing that works. It's kind of putting the seed in there, and then the private sector will take over. It's exactly the same way it happened with computers, with software, with cell phones, etc. The government plants the seed, and then the private sector takes it from there.
Yes, absolutely. One of the most important things that we could provide to these clean energy or emerging clean energy businesses is policy regulatory certainty. In other words, the businesses need to know what their carbon, how much carbon that they're going to be accountable for. And if we're able to set a clear message, such as California's AB 32, a lot of the businesses are able to make the right investments and make the investments in capital and also employees. And also, another thing that the government is doing is helping clean energy become competitive with fossil fuels. I think all of us know here that fossil fuels are very highly subsidized, and it's very hard for clean energy to compete. And so that part of what the government does is provide these tax credits, tax incentives, so that clean energy is on the same playing field as fossil fuels.
And those are very smart policies because, in the one hand, this is not only good for the nation, this is not only good for our community, but it's the future of the economies. We need to be much more competitive, and we need to create these jobs. For example, China created already 1 million green jobs lately. And if we are not in the front lines, we're not going to be able to keep the competitiveness that we need, especially in the minority community.
That obviously has to change, and I don't know up to what point this can be done by, I don't know, the federal government or any government. I think Latinos need to realize that the old custom of saying, okay, that's enough, you had 7 years of schooling, now you need to go to work and contribute to the good of the family. They need to realize that with that kind of training, there will be very few jobs to be had out there. And so Latino families need to realize that education is the key here. High school is the bare minimum that you must have in order to actually prosper for this economy, because these are going to be very technologically involved kind of jobs in many instances. So you need to be prepared. And this is up to us now. This is up to the community. We don't need to look up to the government for this.
I think that's an excellent point, especially in the areas of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Currently, only 5% of the STEM field has Latinos, and the education numbers are also challenging. About 5% of bachelor degrees in science and mathematics goes to Latinos. About 3% of advanced degrees, your masters and PhDs, and really that's going to be where a lot of the innovation, a lot of the research and development, and the patenting of technologies is going to happen. And so that really needs to be a focus for the Latino community. In addition to getting, the more, I guess, traditional blue-collar jobs, is the science, technology, engineering, and math training. And that really needs to happen in the K through 12 level. So we're talking about attempting to educate an entire new generation of scientists and engineers.
Yeah, you're right, Ray. Education plays a central role for the development of any community, and in the labor movement we've been critical, putting pressure on the system to create better educational opportunities for the Latino community. But we are also have a deeply interest on blue-collar jobs, and I want to continue insisting in that. From the beginning, the labor movement has been very aggressive, creating more and better opportunities in terms of training programs for the workers to embrace these new opportunities, to be ready to compete, to be ready to take those jobs. I can mention a number of unions that are already making sure that those workers that are unemployed or employed are taking those courses. SEIU, La Una, which represent the construction workers, the United Steel Workers, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, are all of them embracing these opportunities and training those workers to be ready to be competitive.
It sounds like if you didn't do it the first time when you were a teenager, this gives you another shot at learning some of the things you should have learned. Unions are in the work of improving skills, improving knowledge, but is it as a practical matter? If you're working, whatever, 40 hours a week, 45 more, can you set aside time, you're a young guy with a family, to do more training? Do they design it in a way that you can actually do it?
I think a lot of these programs are totally designed for the workers that are very occupied and that have families. And again, we need not to forget about the unemployed and the opportunities that we have for the unemployed Latino workers right now. So I think if they are put in the right way, and if we do our job as national Latino organizations, educating our workers and talking about the opportunities that exist out there, if we work together with the federal government, if we work together with the local and state governments, if we work together with unions and with anybody that is interested in making sure that we can really be competitive, I think we can get it done.
Jorge, I'm wondering how the landscape has been changed by the Adirond decision. And it doesn't usually come up on this television program, but there's a Supreme Court decision that basically did away with minority set-asides in public contracting. And before that decision, it was becoming standard practice for big cities and states when they signed contracts to say, you know, 20% of your contractors or your subcontractors have to be minority and women-owned businesses. And a lot of Latino-owned businesses were growing using minority set-asides. They were growing in terms of the equipment they could purchase and pay off. They were growing in the terms of the expertise that they could keep inside the company. And that really changed the game. Are Latino small businesses able to play in this sector when there's already so many companies that are way out ahead?
Absolutely. There's many barriers to entry, especially in obtaining these bigger, larger contracts. You know, some of the strategies that I think that we can build in and have already been built into the green economy is to attach you know, provisions to some of these funds so that some of the work goes to local contractors. So if we're doing work in a predominantly Latino community, you know, one would hope that a Latino contractor was able to be competitive for that, or that contracts go to small businesses, and many Latino businesses tend to be small businesses. But I think that the other thing that is important is that we figure out a way to unlock some of the capital so that Latino businesses can actually begin to grow and thrive. Latinos are a very entrepreneurial-driven community. Latinos open business at twice the rate that non-Latinos do over the last decade. So a very strong entrepreneurial spark, but I think that there needs to be a strategy to unlock some of that private capital so the banks can lend and so that these businesses can begin to grow and begin to compete.
Very entrepreneurial, that's true, but I hope that we can have a greater share of some of the high-end, high-value business formation and a little less of the share of, and not that there's anything wrong with nail salons and auto detailing. They're low capital businesses, and if all you've got is your ambition and your smarts and you don't have a lot of money and you don't have a lot of training, that's a business that you can open. But I'm afraid that with money gushing into the system from these programs and these investments and these incentives and subsidies, that 15% of the American population is going to end up with 1% of the money that gets given out from these things. A lot of people are going to get very rich. I mean, how do you get in line for some of that money?
Well, I guess it's a combination of what we were talking about before. My expertise is not business or capitals or anything like that, but this is just a matter of common sense. First of all, Latinos need to be more aware of what's going on. As you said, you can have a small business, but you can always make your business more efficient, and that is making it more green. So that on one hand. On the other hand, of course, it has to be that on the part of the government, there should be I don't know, a clear awareness that our community should be part of this, not only as workers of a green economy, but also as engines of the green economy, as entrepreneurs. It seems to me.